All right, so guys, thank you all for joining our webinar today. Thank you for joining this section. I have with me the speaker. His name is B. Akibi Akidoin. B is a cloud consultant, and he works for one of the largest financial services here in the UK. He's been doing cloud, he's been a cloud consultant or a cloud architect, been doing this in the last 5 years. So I can call him a guru when it comes to anything cloud related, especially with AWS, Azure, and GCP as well. So I am your host today. Most of you, we've met before, you know me. My name is Wale Omolere. I'm the CEO of Smart Learning, and this is our first webinar on cloud services. We're going to be bringing more webinars in your way once in a month. And if you're interested, I think we sent out a message earlier on where we have a link where you can click on the link and indicate your areas of interest. Areas of interest could be the courses that you're interested in or the webinars that you would like us to invite you to. So if you don't have that link, I would share the link on this platform much more later in the course of this webinar. And also just to let you know that we're going to be having a tester section on AWS Cloud Architect training starting on the 5th of next month. It's just going to be a day or two. So if you're interested in that as well, please by all means indicate so. We have a link that we shared with you through email. If you don't have that link, I'm going to post it on this platform. And with that link, you can indicate your interest and we're going to be contacting you. So just note the date. It's going to be on the 5th, 09/2019. A few days down the line, I think on Thursday. So if you're available and if you're interested, let us know. So without wasting too much time today, I would hand over the baton, if I can put it that way, to Akibe, who's going to be taking us through the topic of today, best practices to securing cloud perimeter. Okay. Just 1 minute, and I would hand over the control to B. B, give me a sec. If you're ready there, I'm going to hand over the control to you.
I think I can stop you from sharing, so I would just do that.
Yeah, okay. Stop that. Then I'm going to give the control to B. B, do you have the control now?
Yes, I do. I think I'm sharing now. Can you guys see my screen?
We're still seeing Zoom. Okay.
How about now?
Yes, we can see your screen now.
Fantastic. All right, great. So it's going to be...
just before you B, the square black thing is come back. So maybe you just want to make sure that...
All right, let me just optimize it for...
Yeah.
How about now?
It's better now.
Good.
So you can fire on. Thank you.
All right, great. My name is Akimbi Akindoyin. I've been in the cloud space, cloud computing, for a couple of years. And over the years, I've developed expertise in different areas, actually. But my main focus is architecting a solution for enterprise organizations, ranging from financial service to consulting to companies, to pharmaceutical to legal. So I've worked different industries utilizing cloud computing to enable businesses. So today's webinar will be focused on the security aspect. We'll be talking on different aspects of securing the cloud perimeter. What are the best practices around this? Security, as we all know, is a very, very important aspect of any organization. Reason being that you can, you can get into a lot of troubles if you don't get security right. Regulatory issues, sanctions, fines, quite a lot of things can go wrong if you get security wrong. So organizations are investing heavily in security. That's the core of most of the cloud resources. So organizations that keep hiring cloud experts, cloud security experts, and it's endless. I remember I still did quite a lot of interviews for people last week on trying to get cloud security expert. It's been an Herculean task to get people with the requisite knowledge that could actually, do this stuff. So it's a very hot topic, and you're in a very, very good position to learn this stuff and get those jobs. And yeah, it's quite easy. It's quite, once you put your mind there, get the fundamentals right, it's very, very easy to understand and get done. Okay. So within the next 1 hour, we'll be, going in depth into the rudiments on cloud security, and the focus will be on AWS for this webinar. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to control the. All right, cool. So the agenda for today, I will briefly talk about the well-architected framework pillars that's been documented by AWS. So we'll talk through that briefly. Then we'll talk about the shared responsibility model, because security itself is a shared responsibility. It's everyone's business. So it's not left alone for the customers, but AWS have a role to play in securing cloud resources. So it's a shared responsibility. Now we're going to talk about what is expected of the customer and what is expected of AWS. And we start going in depth into IAM, which is the core of this topic, really. IAM is it's embodied everything, all the resources you're going to be using within AWS. IAM, everything fits within IAM. So after that, we briefly talk about detection controls. How do you enable detection controls within your environment? So whenever you have any threat within your network, it can easily alert you and give you all those responses. Then in the case of you've been attacked, you have an incident, how do you respond? How do you ensure that you don't lose time, you don't expose other resources, you isolate those resources that have been compromised? So we'll talk about how you do that. Then we'll talk again about infrastructure protection and data protection, which are key to managing your workload within the cloud environment. So yeah, as we all know, AWS. So I will assume some background knowledge because it's a webinar, it's not a training. So I will assume some background knowledge that everyone know what AWS is. Is a cloud computing service, started by Amazon a couple of years back, I think 12 years ago, and it offers different services to customers. Okay, it's a pay-as-you-go model, elastic, scalable, all those benefits of cloud computing, they all have them. Okay, so these are common AWS services within the market now, right? So these are services you can consume and use to build your architecture.
Hello, B. It's Harry here. Sorry for cutting you short. Grace, your webcam is on. So if you want to turn that off, please. It's up to you how you want it. I think it's on. No, continue. Sorry for cutting you short.
No worries. So these are services that are common, that commonly used within cloud environment. There are a lot. I think currently there are like 350 services. There are a lot of them, but these are the common ones you get to see every now and then. Okay. Oh my God, sorry about that. I think I was probably. All right, so we'll start with the well-architected framework pillars. So there are 5 fundamental pillars that helps you to check all the pain points within your architecture. So if you build an architecture for an organization, these are things you need to check. You need to first check the operational excellence. So that actually entails how do you run and manage and monitor production workload. So I'll be going to use the term regularly within this webinar. I call it workload. So workloads, they are set of applications within your organization that add business value. So this application you want to move to the cloud, these resources you want to consume in the cloud, these are all called workload. This data you want to have access to in the cloud, they're all called workload. So I'm going to put them under an umbrella called workload. So you're going to see me mentioning workload. So it's just a set of application data that actually adds what? Business value. Okay. So you look at operational excellence, which tells you how your workloads are running. How do you monitor these workloads within the environment? Okay. The next is security. Protecting information and system access along, both within and outside your cloud environment is quite key. Reliability is another, very important factor. Okay, how do you recover workload from power failures, and how do you do fault tolerance and all this stuff? Performance efficiency, how do you enable that the workload is actually optimal, working optimally, meeting the SLA requirements? Another thing is cost. Okay, how do you eliminate unnecessary costs within a cloud environment? Because you're moving to the cloud, basically some organization move to the cloud to save cost. So you have to ensure that the cost requirements is actually being met by your architecture. So, but today, we're going to be focusing more on the security aspect of things, protecting information system and assets along from outside world. So how do you enable people from outside can actually access those API endpoints within your cloud environment? So that our focus today will be on security. Okay. So so AWS has laid down some basic design principles within your cloud environment, and these are just, so if you're going for interviews, they're going to start asking you, what are the design, what design principle are you going to put in place? So make sure you mention all these. They are very, very important. Strong identity foundation, and that's IAM. That's the foundation of everything. IAM is key. You enable traceability, and that's detection control. So you apply security at all levels. That's defense in depth. So we're going to talk about all this in details later, okay? Automation is key. So that's probably, the root of everything. You have to automate the security best practices. So whenever you have any incidents, the automation will trigger and alert you and probably do some remediation effort for you, okay? So you protect your data both at rest and in transit. More importantly, keep data away from people, okay? Don't reduce level of access to data from people. And prepare for security events. Yeah, you have to simulate game day and ensure that all those threat models, you have, things in place to check all those stuff, okay? So I'm starting with these for you to understand what the responsibility of a customer is as opposed to the responsibility of AWS. So I'm starting with the security shared responsibility model. So we're going to be talking about what are your responsibility and what are AWS's responsibility. So within a cloud environment, okay, customers are responsible for securing what is in the cloud. What you put in the cloud, you have the responsibility to secure that. AWS is not going to do that for you. Why AWS responsibility is to secure the cloud itself. So it's responsible for security of the cloud. So there are two different times, of the cloud and security in the cloud. So if you're bringing your data in the cloud, AWS will have those services for you to use to protect them. So you are the one to enable those services to protect your data. Okay. AWS build the environment for you. The perimeter around the environment, AWS provide the security around it, but you have to enable those security and manage and monitor them. So for instance, platform application and IAM. they are all your responsibility. Setting up users' access to your environment is your responsibility. Operating system, network, firewall configuration, they are all your responsibility. Client data protection, server data encryption, all those, they are your responsibility. So you can see how huge those responsibilities are on the customer, because AWS will have probably millions of customers. They can't do all this for you. So if you bring in your workload, you're bringing your data, everything, you have those responsibilities. But okay, so what is AWS responsibility then? So AWS provides services. For compute, they have something called EC2. Okay. For storage, they have S3. Database, they have RDS. Networking, they have VPC. So all those services, AWS have built security around them. Okay. So AWS provides security for all those resources they have built. Okay. They have been gone through a lot of testing, compliance checks with third party. So everything has been checked. But if you're putting stuff into these services, using these services, consuming these services, then you have the responsibility of protecting what you put in the cloud. So there's a global infrastructure within AWS. There's something we call availability zone. There is region and there's edge locations. So availability zone is within a particular region, okay? So within a particular region, you have racks. So those racks are protected, isolated physical hardware, and are protected against each other, okay? A region, for instance, you have a data center in London, another can be in Ireland. So that's Ireland is another region from London. So but within London, we now have availability zone. That's building resilience, fault tolerance for all your workloads. An edge location is another concept entirely used for CDN. CDN is used by CloudFront for faster routing of your traffic to end users. Okay. So, but yeah, I'm gonna now deep dive into different level of services provided by AWS and how do they compare in terms of your responsibility. So for the infrastructure service, so for instance, we have EC2, EBS, and VPC. Okay, EBS is Elastic Block Store, that's for storage. EC2 is for compute. VPC is for networking. So basically, if you look at this diagram well, you see that your responsibility is still very huge. Okay, so you still have all this responsibility: customer data, platform and application management, operating system, network, firewall configuration. All these are still your responsibility. And the only responsibility of AWS is still the same as what I discussed initially. And IAM, okay? IAM, how do you manage users and all access to all these resources is still your responsibility, okay? So let's say the next level of service is platform. So there are some services within AWS that are platform oriented. So you just consume this platform. For example, RDS. So RDS is for relational database. Okay, so to provide this platform, all you just need to do is to bring your data and build application on it. Okay, so you don't manage the underlying database. Okay, you now see that operating system and network configuration has moved to AWS. Can you see that now? AWS now manages the operating system and network configuration. And the platform and application management is still done by AWS. You just bring your data on it. Okay? So can you see how responsibility is now being shifted? So depending on the service you're consuming, the level of responsibility can shift between you and AWS. So here, the only responsibility you have is your data. Protect your data. The data you're putting onto the database, you have that responsibility to protect them. So let's move a bit up now. So there's another level, managed service, okay? It's DynamoDB and S3, okay? So at this level, AWS still have huge responsibility maintaining the operating system, networking and firewall configuration on your behalf. But again, AWS have no business with your data. You still have to manage that data yourself. Okay, and AWS now provide services for you to help you manage those data. And if you see here, okay, AWS manages IAM across board. Okay, but you now have to enable access to users. Okay, so depending on what you're consuming, different services have different responsibility model on how you share those security. Okay, so we go straight to IAM, which is probably the most important thing or in security in cloud. IAM is practically the same across all cloud environments. I've worked with GCP, I've worked with Azure. The whole concept is the same. Once you understand it, creating policies and applying policies to user, they're all the same across all those cloud providers. Okay. So basically, these are questions. So on each of this topic, I put some questions that you need to ask yourself. Okay, these are questions you need to always answer for you to be able to ensure that you're actually doing the correct thing. Okay, so the first question you're going to ask yourself is, how do you manage credentials and authentication for your workload? Okay, how do you control human access to these resources or to these services? Then how do you control programmatic access to services? And that's used by DevOps guys. So how do you ensure that within the terminal, secret and access key for your DevOps guy, how do you make sure they are all locked down? How do you ensure all this access? These are questions. Once you're able to answer all these questions the right way, then you're on top of your game within IAM. But let's now drip down into how do you answer this question? How do you ensure these questions are appropriately answered? So you start from AWS organization. So large corporations have hundreds, if not thousands, of AWS accounts. How do you ensure, how do you manage this account? How do you provide a consolidated view to manage this account? So AWS organization help you do this. So if you have 50 accounts, for example, within your organization, so you can create what we call AWS organization and put all these 50 accounts under it. So you now have a single source of truth. So at the top level, so the AWS organization will provide, visibility to all these 50 accounts within it. So rather than having silos of different accounts within your organization and everyone, doing all sorts of different things at different time, you can have AWS organization and put this account under them. Okay. So there's something called SCP, okay? Service control policy. Okay, service control policy is applied at organization level. So for instance, you just want this organization to launch EC2 instance within Ireland. So whenever anyone launches, it doesn't allow anyone to launch EC2 instance outside Ireland. So those are kind of policy. Or you want only S3 buckets within London. Or you want DynamoDB to only talk to. So all these policies can be applied at the top level. So when you apply that at organization level, it's automatically gets applied to all those other 50 accounts on the beneath. So it provides this consolidated billing again. So if those accounts are, using the kind of resources they're using and how they use them and the amount they're incurring, the AWS organization will have visibility for all those separate accounts. So that's very, very key. So it's create a group of accounts, manage, policies at the top level for you. That's the first thing you have to do. Make sure you don't have silos of AWS accounts within your organization. Okay. And these are structure you can actually adopt. So you can say, okay, fine, we have the large organization, which is a master account. And within that, you have sales organization, you have retail, you have finance, and within that, we have separate accounts. Okay, so that's based on business unit structure. So you can have environment structure like production, development, UAT, staging. So within production, you now have separate accounts under it. So these are organization units. These are how you structure them. It's based on what you adopt as an organization. You can use this account structure, and it can be based on projects. It can be project 1, project 2. You can put the project name there, and within that project, you have separate accounts that are linked to them. Okay, and this master account now have visibility across all child nodes, just like a tree diagram. Okay. So yeah, let's get into the business of IAM now. So these are things you need to understand within IAM: user, group, roles, and policy. So 4 things. If you are grounded in those 4 things, you are the king of IAM. So users. So make sure you enforce MFA. MFA stands for multi-factor authentication. It's a mechanism that helps you identify the user. Could be based on tokens, based on physical hardware. So whenever a user wants to log into your account, it prompts them for this token ID, okay, which could be you. If this is training section, I would have shown you how to set this up within AWS environment. But make sure you enforce that for the users. Enforce policy, password requirement policy. So you make sure you ensure that policy are they're not easy to guess. So make sure you have those policy enforced. You audit periodically. Make sure you do periodic audits to ensure that you don't have foreign users trying to get access to your environment. And again, don't use users to grant access. Make sure you use roles. We're going to talk about IAM roles very soon. So you make sure you use roles. Don't use users to grant access to resources within the AWS environment. And consider federation. Federation is very, very important for large organizations. So what's federation? Federation is like joining 2 domains together, right? So for instance, you have a large organization that already have this Active Directory system. The Active Directory system manages user groups, access, and what users can do with the environment. I'm sure people know about Microsoft Active Directory. So if this organization already set up this, they already have this Active Directory system within the organization. So moving to AWS, you don't need to start setting up those users again. You can use existing Active Directory system within your organization, users there to log into AWS, and you give permission to them. That's federation for you. That's very interesting topic, but that's just have an understanding of federation. Bringing users on-prem, the right permission to access AWS. The users already exist on-prem, so just give them permission to access AWS. So groups is very important. Make sure you put users within group. Don't start giving policies to separate users. Give policies to IAM group, and users within that group automatically inherit that policy. Okay, that's a very good best practice. IAM roles, very, 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 very important. Okay, so IAM user and services, AWS services, those 2 can assume IAM roles. So you create these roles with appropriate permission, and you make user assume those roles or resources assume those roles. So why do you have to do that? So you don't want to every time authenticate users to resources or authenticate services to resources. And to authenticate users and services to resources, you need to give them this token, the secret and access keys. So every user have this secret and access key that are unique to them. Okay, so every time user wants to access resources, you need to put those secret and access keys. So if you don't want to be doing that every time a user wants to access resources, then you can use IAM role. So this role already have that permission embedded in them. So the user can just assume those role and perform the tasks needed. So rather than the user putting that secret and access key every time, which now makes it vulnerable for intrusion, or people can just steal that secret and access key every time trying to use them. So you prevent user from using that. Just use the role, and the user just assume that role. And make sure you enforce MFA. I can't emphasize that enough. IAM policy is the brain behind everything. So how do you ensure that the user have the requisite permission or the least privilege to actually perform the task? That's where you define those things. So it's just JSON. The IAM policy is JSON. Don't worry. Learning IAM policy is fun. You don't need to start writing them from the scratch. There are software out there that help you simulate that and generate these this JSON, and you just apply them. You just need to understand the structure. So once you understand the structure, you can generate IAM policies. They are JSON file. And when you just generate a JSON file, you give it to the user, or you put it on the role. Okay, so make sure what key thing here is least privilege. So whenever you go for the interview, if you don't mention anything IAM policy, just mention least privilege. That will probably save you. So once you mention least privilege, you ask, oh, what do you mean least privilege? It's quite easy. Meaning you only give the permission for a particular user to complete his or her own tasks. You don't give extra. You don't just, I want to access S3. Okay, S3 policies, that's what you need. You don't need policy for DynamoDB. You don't need policy for RDS. The exact permission you need, and that's what I'm going to give you. That's least privilege. Okay. So yeah, Cognito is a very important service within AWS. It handles authentication and identity on your behalf, and developers actually use these because it's mobile and web compatible for your application. Okay, so it can easily integrate with your user Active Directory. It can federate with Facebook, Google, Amazon, and SAML. Okay, SAML is for your on-prem identity provider. Okay, it can actually use AWS credential, but we would definitely advise against this. Okay, don't use this AWS credential because you keep putting secret and access key every time. And actually integrate with standard tokens too. Okay, this service is very, very important for your mobile app. Okay. So what are the actions? What are you taking away from this, from IAM? Number one, root account should never be used. So what's a root account? So the person that actually set up AWS account for the first time. So if you're logging in, if you provide an account, you raise an account, you are the root account user. So you should never use that. So once you create an account, immediately you start creating users. Okay? So it's those users you use to access your AWS account going forward. Don't use root account. Because if anybody gets hold of your root account, your account is gone. It is gone. So only AWS can help you get your account back. And before they can help you get your account back, they will ask you, you will fill like 10,000 forms. So you don't want to have that headache. So make sure you don't use root account. Enable MFA on root user. Very important. It's not just on root user, on all users, to be honest. On all user, enable MFA. Use AWS organization. We've talked about the essence of that. Set account security questions and contacts. Because if you lose your account, those are the things they're going to start asking you. Questions. Okay. Enforce password requirements. Okay. Vault privilege credential. Make sure you vault them. Make sure you don't expose the access to them. Then audit credential periodically. We're going to talk about how you do that very soon. Okay. Okay. Never store credential or secrets in code. That's very important. Make sure you use environment variables. If you have developers on the call, you understand this very well. So if you probably want to have access to your database within an application, you don't embed credential or secrets in code. So you use environment variables to do that. Yeah. So you enforce MFA, multi-factor authentication. I can't emphasize that enough. Consider federation. Federate, join two domains, join your existing on-prem domain to AWS, and enable the users on-prem to have access to AWS rather than create all those users again. Imagine your organization have like 10,000 users, and you want to make sure those users have access to AWS. You can't start creating 10,000 users within AWS. You have to federate. Okay. Use IAM roles for users and services. Very key. I'll explain what that means. Establish least privilege. Least privilege is very key. And don't give over permissive IAM policy. Do not do that. No matter who the person is, don't. This is the task required of you, and this is the policy that will enable you achieve your goal. And that's exactly what you provision for the person. Audit policy with IAM access. Consider using AWS Secret Manager. So Secret Manager help you manage your secret for your database. So you can store your secret there, and you use the ARN of your entry within your Secret Manager to access the secret. It's something we talked about when you come for training. Very, very important functionality there. So use temporary or short-lived credential. So that's STS. So there's something we call STS within AWS. STS stands for it's for temporary credential. It's to manage your session. So, for instance, that federation we're talking about. So, for users on-prem to access AWS, so it gives them this STS token, and this STS token is for certain period of time, maybe 15 minutes, and set it between 15 minutes to 36 hours. So you set this access for that particular period, and after that period, the credential expires, and you have to generate a new one. Okay, it's for sessions, to manage your session. Very, very important. All right, so traceability. So detective control. So how do you enable if you have intrusion? How do you detect them on time and perform remediation? Okay, you have to automate this, but let's see how we do that. So there are certain questions you need to ask yourself, okay, to enable you, ensure that you are actually doing detective controls. You have to answer these two questions. How are you aware of security events in your workload? So you have to do threat modeling. So you have to make sure that, okay, what if someone do this? What if someone have access to this? What if? So all the what ifs, you model them within a security event. So now, how do you now protect this workload from the latest security threats? Because every time we have new threats within the environment, how do you ensure that you are up and running, up to the game with all these threats coming up? So let's see. So for detection, these are three very key things. Okay, there's CloudTrade, there's guard duty, and there's config. So for CloudTrade, all API calls to your environment is monitored by CloudTrade. So if you're making API calls to resources within your environment, CloudTrade captures that and store those data for you. So you have access to those data. Okay, so you can now customize delivery, encryption, make sure you archive those data because probably you're going to need it later. Then you now have to take actions with those data. So if, for instance, I can give you an example. So if you have an EC2 instance within an environment, you don't want anyone to make API calls to those EC2 instances. So whenever someone tries to make API calls to that, CloudTrade captures that, send it to CloudWatch event. Okay, the event records, okay, someone is trying to access this. Then the event will call something, maybe a Lambda, and the Lambda will probably disable access for that user. That's how you automate things. So you have resources. You said, okay, fine. You don't want anyone to make API calls to this. Okay, within your CloudTrade will monitor anyone making API calls to that. So whenever anyone makes API calls to that, CloudTrade will talk to Cloud Event that, oh, an event has occurred within my environment and someone is trying to make API calls to this. And Cloud Event now talk to Lambda. Lambda is serverless. We'll talk about that later. Lambda picks up the ARN of the user. Oh, this is the user. I know the user. Lambda will now probably disable. It depends on what you want to do. What's the remediation effort? Okay, disable the user or delete the user. Do something. Make sure the user doesn't have access to that EC2 instance. So those are ways you detect. So for guard duty is based on machine learning. So it's an intelligent threat detection. Use machine learning to model your environment. So this is quite very, very interesting because once you enable guard duty, it doesn't start working automatically. So what it does, it takes time. It learns. So that's how machine, if you understand what machine learning does. So it learns the environment. What are the normal, normal working environment? What are the normal traffic you have in your environment? So it monitors for like few weeks. What are the norms? So it monitors that and learn. So once it learns and understand how your environment reacts, how your environment performs, whenever you have something different within your environment, it picks it up and try to analyze it. So is this a threat? Why is it different from the normal working condition of your environment? So very, very important. It's advisable you turn that on and use that. And whenever it detects anomaly, it can trigger a Lambda, can trigger a CloudWatch event, tell a Lambda that, oh, something has happened that it's against the norm. Do something. Okay? Config, very important, very crucial. Configuration management. So let me just quickly explain this. So AWS config. So it stores all your configuration data. So if you configure an S3 bucket, so it stores how you've configured it. Okay. So whenever you have a change in configuration, it also monitors that, oh, someone has changed the configuration of this S3 bucket, version 1, version 2. So it tracks all this configuration. So you can now write a rule that whenever anyone changes configuration of certain things to a particular value, do something. So those are detection. So it tracks those configuration for you. So these are different from detection, but they can work with those detection too. So this is for metric and logging. Okay, metric monitoring and logging. Okay, so metric within your EC2 instance, you want to check what is CPU utilization, what's the network in, what's the network out, memory. So you can use CloudWatch to do that, and it integrates with those detection controls and the one I've explained before. Okay, you can do a custom integration with those. There's CloudWatch log. So these three things are within CloudWatch, but they are different. Okay, so the log, as you all know, it just captures the logs. Okay, checks if you've created an alarm based on the log. It triggers the alarm, and it can send you a notification. For instance, if your CPU utilization is 95% and you've set a threshold to 90. So whenever it hits 90, it sends you an alarm that, oh, your threshold has been breached. Blah, 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 blah. You can take action from there. You can, do a lot of things based on what you've configured. An event is very, 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 very important. This is for automation. So it automates action. So immediately you have those bridges, those, anomaly behavior, an event triggers a Lambda, triggers different things. That's very, very, very one of the most important resource within AWS. We'll see how I designed something within the slide, so I'll show you how it's been used. So we can emphasize this enough. Use your log. You have to use your log at every point in time to monitor your environment and trigger notification, automate responses, automate remediation, just like the one I explained before. And it can integrate well with your threat intelligence. And the threat intelligence within AWS environment is guard duty. Okay. There's another one called Messy. Is it Messy or Messy? It depends on how you want to pronounce that. So that's monitor is actually use AI it monitors your S3 buckets, specifically for S3 buckets. So it monitors S3 buckets for PII data. It's personally identifiable information, those credit card information, your name, your address, all those things that are personal to you. It monitors those, if you have those data within your S3 bucket, and it notifies you. Because normally you shouldn't have those within your S3 buckets. Okay? So take action, customize your CloudTrade configuration, make sure you use guard duty, configure application and infrastructure in, centralize detection and alerts with CIEM. CIEM is security events, security incidents and event monitoring. Example is Splunk. I'm not probably people are aware of that. Splunk is one of the major tools that actually help to check all these things. So you can ship all this log to Splunk, and within Splunk you can run some models, some algorithm on that to sieve your log and bring out where those detective controls are. Okay, so you proactively monitor access to sensitive data, just like the one I've just mentioned. Now, Macy is a very, very good example. Make sure you don't expose those data to the public. Okay. Schedule regular reviews of news and best practices. So every time AWS comes out with, okay, someone needs to get on mute. Wale, can you take care of that, please? Someone needs to go on mute there.
You can transfer.
Yes, I'm just looking at that person. I'm just trying to look at that call.
All right. Yeah, I just actually mute the person. So
okay.
So you schedule regular reviews of news and best practices. Very, very key, because AWS comes out with all these new best practices every time. So you want to be ahead of this game. They come up with new services that actually helps to automate most of this process. You have to be aware and make sure you review all this and see how they can help you within the environment. Okay. All right. So next, apply security at all layers. So this this emphasizes the depth of the layer of defense you have before you get to the outside world. So between you and the outside world, what are the layers of security you've put in place? That's what we're going to talk about here. So what are the fundamental questions you need to ask yourself here? How do you protect your network? Okay, because intrusion comes from the network. Okay, so how do you protect your network? How do you protect your compute resources? So I've come up with this diagram. So depth in defense. So from the outside, from the physical, so that's AWS business. Okay, your physical data center where your workloads are stored. So AWS, provide the security around that. Okay, they might have security guard mounted on those data center, checking 24/7. That's taken care by AWS. So the next layer, network and host level boundaries, and that's your CloudFront, your VPC, your gateway, your security group, your knuckles, and your host ID. So as this layer, all right, that noise, there's a noise there. All right, thank you. Anyway, so let's continue. So as the network and host level boundaries, all right, yeah, I've been able to. Good. So at the network and host level boundaries, that responsibility is on you. So you need to enable those security at the CloudFront level, VPC, gateway, you have to, security group, essential, you have to be able to configure that correctly. Okay, knuckles, we're going to talk about all this later. So the layer below that is the system security. So your OS, you're going down into the OS level now. So you have to add in your AMI. AMI is Amazon Machine Images. Does that want to use more like your operating system, baked operating system. So patches, management, and all this vulnerability scanning, you have the responsibility to that. And a layer below that is your data, encryption, and user access to your data. You have to manage that yourself. You can see the physical is what AWS can handle for you. The rest is your responsibility. So let's talk more on that. So there's a service called Shield. Shield is for DDoS protection. So it's available on AWS for free, the standard one. So you can enable, once you enable this, it does DDoS protection for your environment. Okay? So it protects against common network and transport layer DDoS. So there are common ones that are out there, that have been baked into the Shield environment. So Shield already knows about all those threats. So whenever it has those header within, the network traffic. It triggers that oh yeah, we have intrusion. So there's something called VPC flow log. We're going to talk about that later. The Shield works with that and checks all those intrusion for you. So it's always on. Okay. So there's another advanced feature of Shield. Okay, that advanced feature gives you more functionality. Although I think it's £3,000 or $3,000, so it's in dollars, $3,000 a year. So for large corporations, they actually go for the advanced feature. The standard feature will just give you the common ones that everyone knows about. But the standard one is, the advanced one is more sophisticated in terms of functionality. But you have to pay, I think, $3,000 a year. So this is a good example of, how CloudFront works. So CloudFront, what's CloudFront? CloudFront is used to manage your CDN. Okay, so CDN, they are content delay. So if you have resources, okay, that you want to distribute to your users, okay, so you create distribution at the edge location. So the edge locations are the closest to your users. So users get those resources from those edge locations. Okay. So the user have straight access to your CloudFront. So CloudFront has some DDoS protection within it too. Okay. And within that, you need to create what we call WAF. So WAF is Web Application Firewall. We're going to talk about that later. So you have rules within this WAF. So there's this top 10 OWASP security threat that has been modeled into WAF. So it checks through and check all those rules against all the traffic coming in, checks against all those rules, and does the protection of your WAF, of your CloudFront. So WAF protects your CloudFront. So you must use them in combination. If you just use CloudFront, you might be lucky, but the standard practice is to use WAF with your CloudFront. Okay. So for content distribution network, you use your CloudFront, and to protect your CloudFront, you use your WAF. These edge locations just point to your CloudFront, and this is where your user actually gets data from. So you can use Route 53 is for DNS. We're going to talk about that later. So you can see the layer. So this layer, this is another layer. Before you get access to this is your VPC. Okay. Before you get access to your EC2, EC2 is not behind your firewall. There is security group here that's not been shown, but there's another layer in here, security group, that actually, still enforce some policies. So what are the WAF capability? I've talked about WAF to protect your CloudFront, your content distribution. So you need to create these rules. So there are managed rules within WAF that help to checkmate access to incoming traffic. So it checks all this incoming traffic in these rules. Okay. So what does it check? It checks for both and scrapers, SQL injection, checks for cross-site scripting, checks for there are 10 of them. There are 10 WAPs that's been baked into that rules, but you can create your own rules too. You can use regular expressions. You can write a lot of intelligent threat modeling within the WAF. You can write your rules and apply it to your WAF, but you pay per rule you create. So if you create more rules, you have to pay more. Okay, so you have to be aware of that. But yeah, to protect your network, you need to do some threat modeling and write some WAF rules and apply it to your WAF environment. And that actually make your environment more secure. VPC, you can that's the is the CDN. So it's software defined networking within AWS. It's called VPC. Okay, so it's more like a virtual network within your on-prem environment. Okay. How do you ensure security within this? So you separate different resources based on subnet, which create these separate layers of workloads. So you can have depending on your availability zone, you can have different subnets. Okay, and you can use NACLs, Network Access Control List. So and you prevent, that will help you prevent traffic. That will help you prevent traffic across this layer. So NACLs help you separate this network. Okay, so you can use route tables too to control internet access to your environment. Then security groups, very, very important. Okay, for horizontal movement. So within the same subnet. Okay, so for the vertical, you use NACL, and that's across subnets. For the horizontal, within the same subnet, you use security group for isolation. Okay. So there are host-based security that you can actually implement too. So this host-based security, they are third-party, most of them. You can install them within your environment and help you to do intrusion detection and prevention. And they are largely agent-based. So agent-based meaning, so once your environment scale, they also scale with the environment. So they scan and do patch for vulnerability. So you can use management to actually deploy this. Okay. So something like System Manager, AWS System Manager, SSM. So you can use that to deploy this host-based security. Okay. Serverless. Serverless is a very hot topic too. So the whole idea of serverless is you don't run any infrastructure. You just deploy these compute resources and they actually perform the tasks you want them to perform, and they die. Okay, so you invoke, they perform the tasks, and they die. That's how they work. So they are serverless. They don't have any server running behind them, but the server is managed. So the whole idea of serverless is there's an EC2 instance being provisioned, but it's behind the scene. You don't see that. So you just invoke them, they perform a certain tasks for you, and they shut down. Okay. So how do you authorize and authenticate access to the serverless API? Very key. Now, how do you enforce boundary as to what services the Lambda function can access? So when you talk about serverless, everyone, you just go straight to Lambda. That's the key. That's the service within AWS that actually does this. Okay. So how do you monitor dependency vulnerability within your serverless application? And what's your strategy for input validation? So you have to create policies for Lambda. For instance, if you want your Lambda to take event from your CloudWatch event. So when your CloudWatch event, get an alert from, for instance, a guard duty that someone is trying to intrude your environment, CloudWatch event, records this event and send an alert to AWS Lambda. There's a rule within the event. So you create a rule already that whenever this happens, do this. So it talks Lambda. So you now pass that instruction to Lambda. So the instruction to Lambda could be shut down EC2 instance. So if you want Lambda to shut down EC2 instance, you must give Lambda the permission to do that. So you now have to enable Lambda to shut down EC2 instance. So you have to create a policy or an IAM role and attach that to your Lambda to do that. So how do you ensure those security are met? So that's what we're going to be discussing now. So at the network layer, use CloudFront with WAF. And again, Shield is free, so why not just use it? The standard one is free. So for internet-facing application, use CloudFront with WAF and Shield. So CloudFront from your content delivery network, for your low latency access to your application, you must use CloudFront. And CloudFront works in conjunction with your edge location to cache those applications. So whenever a user is trying to access your application, doesn't need to go to the period where the application is being deployed. Just go straight to the edge location because it's been cached there already. Okay. So use VPC and security group to enforce segmentation. Very important. Private connectivity using VPC peering, VPN, or AWS Direct Connect. So if you want to connect your on-prem environment to your AWS environment, you have to use IPsec VPN. Okay, so you have to ensure that, or use a dedicated connection created by AWS called Direct Connect. Okay, so enable VPC flow logs. Okay, most of this threat intelligence that I've been talking about, analyzes data from VPC flow log. Okay, all the data they make use of for this intelligence gathering is from VPC flow log. So you have to enable them. So enable GAT duty and integrate it with security, incidents, and events management tool like Splunk. Okay. So enforce service level permission. Service level permission, for example, S3 bucket policies. So at the bucket level, you want certain permission to be applied. So you can go more granular to apply these permissions at the resource level. And that's the object level permission. So that's another level below. But at the S3 bucket level, maybe that's fine. But depending on your organization, some will go down into the object level. So at the host layer, okay, and that's your EC2 instance itself. So use OS-based anti-malware and intrusion detection. Okay, that could be third party, depending. Yeah, we have McAfee. We have a couple of Microtrend, a lot of third-party tools out there that actually help you to do this. Okay. So run CV. CV is common vulnerability and exposure. So run CV vulnerability scan. What does that for you is AWS Inspector. So you can enable that with your environment. Scan external code. So if you're bringing external code into your environment, make sure you scan them before you bring them into your environment, because there could be vulnerabilities within that code that expose your environment. And hackers or attackers can use those as an entry point into your AWS environment. So you must scan any external code you're bringing into the environment. So adding OS and default configurations. Make sure you patch vulnerabilities every now and then. And maintain adding and patched images. So most organizations have a workflow for images to create AMIs. So they have a workflow for that adding those, so they embed those security into their AMI before being used within AWS environments. So you know this has been tested and trusted before you deploy them within your environment. Automate best practice. So we are 40 minutes into the webinar, so we are quite good with time. So how do you now automate security best practices? Very key, because you don't want any manual intervention whenever any breach has occurred. You want to automate most of the security breach and alerting, and you want remediation efforts to also be automated. Cloud formation. So everyone know about infrastructure as a code, IAC. That's another buzzword in the cloud computing environment industry now. So you want to automate all processes, convert all your environment to code. Okay. So what this actually does for you is to verify your configuration before you create. Okay. Most people use Terraform for these. It still does the same thing, but AWS have their own equivalent, which is called CloudFormation. Okay. For large corporations, they prefer to use Terraform because it is cross-platform. So Terraform can be used to deploy infrastructure on AWS, can be used to deploy infrastructure on GCP, and can also be used to deploy infrastructure on Azure. So it's not tied to any cloud provider, but CloudFormation is strictly AWS. Okay, so it's you can verify your configuration before you click apply. So once you convert all your environment code, check through the configuration one more time, then you create your resources. So it can help you to automate security baseline too, like all the security stuff I've been discussing. You can automate them, write them as code. Don't worry, it's quite easy. It's all JSON and YAML. It's not Java, it's not Python, it's not all those high level. It's just declarative statements. So you're just declaring resources. So it's secure by default, and it has built-in best practices. Okay. AWS config rule. I can't emphasize this enough, because most large corporations use this to come out with this. They build this dashboard, okay, around all the rules. So they come out with rules. Okay, this has stuck to this. When this stuck to this, it's non-compliant. When this does this, it's not compliant. So they have all these rules. If this S3 bucket has this policy, is not compliant. If you attach internet gateway, is non-compliant. So all these rules has been set within config. Okay. All right. So once you set this rule, there are pre-built rule. There are other pre-built rule by AWS that you can actually use. There are custom rules that you can write using Lambda, which is the one I've just described. Then they invoke this automatically. So they continuously monitor the environment. And whenever there's a breach, you just invoke them and display wherever the breach is on your dashboard. So you see it on your dashboard. So when you see it on your dashboard, you can take remediation effort immediately. There are some that you can automate the remediation. Okay, and there are some that once you detect, it shows you on the dashboard, you need to go in manually and check what's wrong. If there are exceptions, then you have to apply the exceptions. For instance, some organization will tell you, by default, we don't want internet gateway. For you to get internet gateway, you have to raise an exception. So the rules within config, we always check for internet gateway. And whenever you see internet gateway, it flags and raise an objection. Although you might have business justification to have an internet gateway, so you now have to create an exception to override that rule. Okay, those are how rules are implemented in config. Very, very, very important. Okay, so you now create a dashboard for visualization of compliance. So compliance is key, especially in financial services. So people always take that very serious. So if you can write config rules, if you can create this fancy dashboard, that's another an odd area of specialization within security. So I think I've discussed this. Let me just go over it again. So this is one, how to automate remediation. So if you detect the threat, how do you, ensure that this is compliant with your environment? So for instance, so you have a GAT DTA, right? GAT DTA, intelligence monitoring and the likes. So it detects something. Oh man, this data is not conforming with the norm of the environment. So you detect that. Send a trigger to CloudWatch. Okay, send a trigger to CloudWatch. CloudWatch has a log. Okay, and within CloudWatch, there's an alarm that's been set. And this alarm talks to CloudWatch event. Okay, and the event looks, oh, what do we do? Within the event, there's rules that's been set that, oh, whenever this happens, call spin up a Lambda function. So Lambda function is triggered, okay? And what does a Lambda do? Lambda can do quite a lot of things. Within a Lambda, you can set that, oh, delete the user. You can say, okay, shut down a particular instance. Do a lot of things. The Lambda can, do quite a lot of things for you there. That's how you, automate those threats. Remediation. So you remediate those threats. Okay. So there's a concept called immutable infrastructure within AWS. You achieve this by automation. So you bake all your environment, you convert all your environments code, okay? And you automate patching and inspector. So inspector check for all the vulnerabilities. So there are 4 things: runtime analysis, check your security best practices and your CVs, does all this for you, and send you a report of your AMI. Okay, whenever it's due for patching, it tells you and do all the stuff. Okay, so that's the idea. So an idea of immutable infrastructure, infrastructure you don't build manually, they're automated. Okay, so you have the same infrastructure every time. Okay? The build process is the same, doesn't change. So serverless application model, you can use a cloud formation or serverless application model for your templates infrastructure. You automate, build, and test the new infrastructure. Okay, so make sure your infrastructure is immutable every time. All right, and whenever you're doing infrastructure as a code, you're automating all your environments. You must never, let me put the word, you must never provision anything manually again. Okay, so else it's going to break the state. So because what CloudFormation does, or what infrastructure as a code does, is to check the states of your environment every time. So your environment is in, whenever you start deploying it, maybe it stores it in version 1. Whenever you redeploy it, it upgrades to another version. Okay, but if you manually create something after you've automated everything, it breaks it, because the new resources you've provisioned manually doesn't have the code stored in that state. So it creates this hole, all right? And you have to rebuild the environment all over again. So cloud, you have to be very careful when you're doing automation. So you configure AWS rules, use inspector for vulnerability detection. You automate responses to non-compliant infrastructure using AWS config, like I've explained to you, using that dashboard and remediation steps. Okay. I think this is the last part. So how do you protect data in transit and at rest? So within the AWS environment, largely you have your data at rest. So, but when you make API calls to this data, so they have to, transit from one point to another. Even while in transit, you have to protect your data. Even while at rest, you have to protect the data. So what do you do to protect this data? So the question, how do you protect your data at rest? And how do you protect your data in transit? So most organizations have this data classification based on data sensitivity. How sensitive your data is, you do the classification. So for public data, it's a public data, it's non-sensitive, available to everyone. But for private data, so you have to apply some level of controls. You have to restrict access to those private data. Okay? And you can use tags. Okay? Some organization will tell you they have highly restricted data, internal consumption data, and public data. So depending on how your organization is structured to class this data. Okay? So you can integrate access to IAM, because based on your data's classification, you now apply these policies. Okay? So if it's public data, yeah, it's fine. The IAM policy can be open to anyone. But if it's private data, you want to restrict control by IAM policy. That, okay, certain group of people or certain user only have access to it. So this diagram shows what protocol or what can be used for data at rest or in transit. So transport, sorry. So transport means data in transit, okay? So let's talk about the at rest first. So at rest, you can use client-side encryption Okay. You can use keys within the client side to encrypt it. You can use server-side encryption, which is provided by AWS. Okay. Then you can use KMS. That's the core of encryption in AWS. Okay. So it manages your key policies and IAM policies to the key you've provided. So there's something called CMK. So CMK is a custom master key you create. And within that CMK, you have key policies that you attach to that CMK. Okay. It's Cloud HSM, hardware security model. So this is more advanced in terms of functionality than KMS. So KMS is for symmetric keys. HSM is for asymmetric, so it provides both private and public key. Okay, and it's tamper-proof, and the level of compliance between these two. So this is FIPS. So this FIPS level 3 and this FIPS level 2. So depending on your organization, and this is actually more secured in terms of compliance, level of compliance. Okay. So for transport, so in transit, so if your data is in transit, how do you encrypt that? You use TLS. Okay? Transport layer. Okay, and the transport is HTTPS. You don't use SSL here again. SSL is being deprecated, okay? So TLS is the new protocol, all right, for encrypting data in transit, okay? So you can manage that certificate based using certificate manager. S2N, signal to noise. You can use signal to noise too. It's quite new, but yeah, you can use that. So data in transit, AWS endpoints are all HTTPS. So what can you do? So VPN connectivity to your VPC, that's to be TLS. TLS, make sure you don't forget. Okay. So TLS application for communication. Okay. So ELB, you can use ELB with your certificate manager to provide those certificates for your CloudFront and the likes. All right. So whenever you're exposing, all these are, the external facing. CloudFront is external facing. API gateway is external facing. So you have to manage the certificates with ACM. So encryption with KMS, it's quite easy to deploy, but quite a lot of things within this. So if you're really interested in KMS, that's a full course on its own. So there are different ways of managing it. So you can create it with AWS. AWS manage that for you, or you import your own keys, import your own key material, and do quite a lot of things there. So you can enforce rotation of this key every year or every 3 years, depending on what you set up. So any changes into this KMS key is tracked by CloudTrail. Very key, very important. So you can get data from CloudTrail every time to check who is having access to my KMS, who is doing what with the keys within my environment. So take action, use KMS or alternative mechanism to encrypt all your data at rest. Always use IAMs to restrict access. So even within KMS and HSM and the likes, you still need IAM. You can see you've mentioned IAM all over again. It's still coming up because that's what you use to manage access to any resources in the AWS environment. So everything, the secure parameter, everything still revolves around IAM. So verify accessibility to your data. Who is having access to your S3? Who is having access to your S3 EBS snapshot? So use ACM to manage certificates, very key. Consider tokenization to substitute sensitive data. Okay, so you can tokenize that. Anyone have access to your data based on token, and that token is for certain period. So tag data and resources with different classification level, I have discussed. Could be public, private, restricted, highly restricted. Make sure you tag those data that way. Consider data segmentation and isolation techniques. Okay. And encryption mechanism, and make sure you enforce all encryption mechanism for your environment. Right. So how do you keep data away from people? How do you lock data away from people? That's the next. So create a mechanism to reduce or eliminate need for direct access or manual access to data. Okay. So it's just based on needs to know basis. You don't open data to everyone within your environment, just people that actually needs access to that data. And you can time box them. Okay, you only have access to this for a certain period. And after that, your access to that expires, and you have to reapply. Okay, so use automation to manage workload and enforce business logic. So data access control between users and data. So this is a very good example. Okay, so if you run a command, so this user have an IAM attached to it, so it has access. So if you make an API call, so you run the command. So whenever you make API call, this tracks it, audits, have a stamp here, and whenever this can talk, the CloudFront, the CloudTrail can talk to Cloud Event and check if this user actually have requisite permission to access the environment. Okay, before it actually allows it. And within the IAM policy, you already have the policy of the resources this user can actually access. So this event, you could have a lot of events here that, okay, that user has probably been blacklisted here not to have access. So this actually triggers and probably shut the user out. So there are a lot of things you can actually do. All right. So make sure you automate your infrastructure. I can't emphasize that enough. What do you use? CloudFormation or Terraform. Okay. So you can version control your infrastructure. You can create a CI/CD pipeline. Okay. And system manager, very important. So most organizations have disabled SSH access to their environment. SSH is secure shell access to your environment. So whenever you provision a compute resources, you want to have access to it, you use SSH. So SSH opens port 22. So most organizations don't allow SSH access to environments for obvious reasons. So they disable that functionality, and what they use is SSM, Session Manager. Okay, so Session Manager will give you session for a particular period and times out. So you have to relog in again, and it's within the console. So you have to log in to AWS to actually have access. So you can SSH. An inspector to monitor vulnerabilities. So always use the dashboard. All your config rules can be deployed on this dashboard. Okay, so you have alerts coming out on this dashboard. You have different level of alerts. You can have green is fine, everything is fine. Amber, then you are not compliant, but it's not critical. But when it's red, it means you are not compliant, and this actually is a very critical breach. You have to take action immediately. So take action. Remove direct access to EC2. Like I said, disable SSH and use SSM. Implement fine-grained control between users and data. So make sure only certain user that needs access to the data have that access. Use dashboard and any other method to display data instead of direct access to your database. So you can use a SQL client to connect to your RDS. So use automated infrastructure deployment like CloudFormation. Okay, and make sure you automate control of the data. Can't emphasize that enough. So last aspect is to plan for security events. So in as much as we've talked about all these mechanisms to checkmate threats, to do this, to do that, there are some instances that you have threats, you have security events. Okay, how do you manage incidents? How do you ensure that you isolate and you don't further expose the environment whenever there is incidents? So how do you prepare and respond to an incident? So even with the mature preventive and detective controls in place, you still need to consider planning. You still need to plan. Okay, you still need to plan. So plan for different scenarios using, you can use game day, simulate different attack model. You can, come up with different threat plan within your organization. There's something. So there's hackathon. So you can do hackathon. And within hackathon could be, model a threat and attack this environment. Let's see what you can do. Let's see how much damage you can do. And from that, you can get insight into what, the outside hacker could be thinking at the time, and what your vulnerabilities are. What are the exposure? What are the pinpoints of exposure for you? So from there, you can gather all this and, work on them. Okay. So use AWS API operations to automate and isolate instances. Tags are very important. So within that, you can know that, okay, this is the part that actually been exposed. And always clean environment for investigation. Make sure you have a clean room. So what kind of actions do you take? Prepare for different scenarios. You can permutate these scenarios and check how you're performing to it. Pre-deploy tools to ensure automation. Pre-provision access to security or response team. Practice responding to incidents through game days. Like I've said, hackathon, game days, those are things organizations use to gather all this knowledge around. And continuously improve your processes. Okay. Have a team dedicated for security. So that's what most organizations do. They have a dedicated team that does all this. All right, thank you. That's the end. Mr. Wale?
All right, so thank you guys. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, B, for that wonderful section. If you are, and I do apologize, I think we're just pretty much right on time. Just want to give me a sec. B, have you flipped control back to me?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Let's see if I can share my screen. Just give me a sec. So that's B. Okay, so whilst I'm trying to do that, I just want to say thank you guys again for your time today. It's just been really awesome. B, that was a wonderful delivery, and thank you so much for taking us through that journey. So I want to quickly say that if you're interested in the taster section, we have a taster section for the cloud architect that's coming up on the 5th of next month, which is just next month, literally starting from tomorrow, precisely on Thursday. If you're interested in that section, please do fill the form there. I've pasted a form in the Google form that you can fill out, input your name, your email address, and that would really, really help us to communicate with you for the tester section. Like I said, it is a tester section. So what B has done today is just to walk us through very high level, the security aspect of AWS cloud. But to be honest, it can be more complex than that. So I do not expect you to be on this this webinar and feel good that, oh, you're not a cloud guru. It doesn't work that way. You still have to be properly trained for those that are interested. So if you're that person and you want to learn more, please, by all means, join our tester section on Thursday. And how do you do that? You have to fill the form there. If you cannot see the form, I can send it to you again. Just look in our chat box. I'm sending it again. Fill that form and we would reach out to you as soon as possible. And also to just let you know again, whilst I have you here, as a business, Smart Learning, where we would be hosting a webinar, a regular webinar once in a month. Hopefully I'm going to bring B back sometimes. I'm not promising, but sometimes next month, we're going to be hosting another webinar on Internet of Things. And there, we're also going to be looking at the security and the risk aspect of Internet of Things. So, some of you may have heard about Internet of Things. IoT is the future anyway. So we're going to be hosting a webinar on that as well. As a business, we're also giving back to the community. There's going to be a whole sort of, free training, and we're going to be doing that once in a month as well. So the reason why I'm announcing this is just watch this space, look out for our emails and our webinars, our comms, and you can be part of this great community that we are trying to build as a business. So again, thank you so much. If you want to listen to the recording, it's important for you to fill that form. Because we need your email to share the recording with you. We will not share the deck with you. It's important that I'm upfront with you, so that, you don't come back and say, oh, Wale, I'm not going to share the deck with you, but at least you'll be able to see the recording of this teaching. We also have other services that we run as well. If you fill that form, we have various, cloud-related services. We have the Azure, we have the GCP, which is the Google Cloud. B has walked us through the Azure today. We have all sort of, training on IoT as well, IoT data analytics, IoT security, IoT solution architect. You can visit our website. Our website is www.smartlearning. Just quickly pull that there for those that are interested. You can look our website up. There are a few informations that are there, that could also help you to make an informed decision for yourself. Other than that, I want to say thank you so much for your time today. I'm hoping that we'll be able to take a few questions if time permits us. Just give me a sec. And whilst I also have B on the call as well, we're just going to look at some of the few questions that are there, and we can quickly just see if we can answer them. And if not, we will come back to you. Just give me a sec. I'm just trying to look up if there are any questions. So someone said, Ayodeji says, what level of technical skills is needed to become a cloud architect? I would add, B, can you quickly answer that question?
All right, so that's very subjective. So it depends on the individual. But level of skills, okay. It involves a lot of reading. To be honest, I won't lie to you. So I've been on this journey for 5 years. And to be a cloud architect, it doesn't mean you pass certification. It doesn't have anything to do with that. So because you're going to be architecting solutions that will go to the cloud, that businesses will depend on. So it's a skill set you build over time. So, but a good place to start is to go through the learning objectives of the certifications, learn them in depth, and understand why this is what it is. Because most of the questions architect is going to be answering is why. Okay, as opposed to how, why. You're going to be asking why. You could ask the question, why are you doing this? Why are you putting that there? Why do you need to do this? So this knowledge comes with time. It's not, doesn't come with you overnight. So it's over the years you've built experience, you've developed those solutions for different projects, and they've gone into production, and you've go back to your drawing board to re-architect the solution based on new, a lot of things, that you acquire over the years. I would say you start from just learn objective within AWS certification, learn them really well. Then that's the first step.
All right, then. Thank you, B, for that. And also just to add to what B has said, It is a journey. You cannot just wake up and become a cloud architect. It doesn't work that way. But however, we can help as a business. We have courses. If you want to become an architect, you have to start, from the foundation. So we have a course we call the AWS Cloud Fundamentals. From the fundamentals, we build you up, which is the beginner course anyway. We build you up into the intermediate level. From the intermediate level, you become, we take you to the advanced level. And the good thing about our course is, we don't come here and come and tell you all the theoretical nonsense. It doesn't work. So we get, down to business, So whilst B will be teaching you, we're also showing you as well. We're showing you. So it's the teaching and the showing. It's the teaching and the showing. You would agree with me that, whatever anybody teach you, you tend to forget. But when you're shown, or when they show you rather, then you will remember it. Okay, so if you're interested, again, if cloud architect is your destination, what do you aim to achieve at, then you've come to the right place. We have the answers, and we would be able to help you. And it also applies for all other courses that we offer as well. The practical, so whilst you're being trained, we'll show you, do a lot of practical demonstration for you. And there, you're able to learn whatever that you've learned, theoretical, you're able to apply them as it is in the real world. Okay. I think that's just one question. I don't know if you have any question, you can quickly put it across to us so that we can try as much as possible to answer them. If not, I want to say thank you again for your time. Watch this space. Another webinar is coming your way anytime soon. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, please do so by filling that form that we have there. This recording is going to be available. We're going to put it on the website. We're also going to share it with you as well. Again, I must quickly say, we're not sharing the deck with you. It's just going to be the video. It's important that I mention that again and again. All right. Thank you, guys, and thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have fun with family and friends. And I look forward to seeing you guys. You have our telephone number as well. Visit our website. The telephone number is there. You can reach us at any time. And if there's any query at all about today's webinar, I'll be more than happy to answer those queries. Thank you so much, and see you soon. Bye for now.